Hello, Happy New Year, Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Christmas. It is the Nialler9 podcast, and it is our last episode of the year. And as is custom every year, we do the Nialler9 Podcast Awards. Andrea Cleary, what is the Nialler9 Podcast Awards? What is it?
The
What are we doing here?
Nialler9 Podcast Awards, Niall Byrne, is an excuse for us to talk about the things that happened during the year that don't fit into a traditional list. So, yeah, we like to shoehorn in some songs, some bits of songs, some collaborations,
Heavy
some
shoehorning going on here.
news
Yeah.
stories, whatever we like, really, whatever we like. So we'll have some returning awards. We will have, from my side anyway, mostly new awards, but some returning awards. And will there be a return of the best saxo, though? We'll see.
All will be revealed very soon.
Very different podcast award vibe from us this year compared to maybe our first 2 years, because the other thing that used to be special about the podcast awards was that we would get very, very drunk while we were recording them. But now it is 10 to 3 in the afternoon. You've just had a baby and I haven't had a drink in a year and a half. So it's a different vibe, but no less
Times
fun.
have changed.
Times have certainly changed.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all.
That's all good. Yeah, I'm still tipping away at the odd beer here and there, even though I'm a new dad. But that's all there is to do. Look after a baby and have a nice
and
beer
try
here
your
and there.
best.
And try your best. So yeah, what did we do on the Nialler9 podcast this year? We did episodes about Sufjan Stevens, Fortet, Swiftageddon, Bandcamp Sale, Latin Freestyle 80s Electro with Bob Stanley, an episode about the KLF, Balearic Music, UK Pop Music of the 2000s with Michael Craig, Cass Elliott, an episode on AI, Frank Ocean at Coachella and Jai Paul. We talked to May Kay about Palestine earlier this year before things really got bad in Gaza. David Holmes on Let's Get Killed, an episode on our favorite samples, and of course the usual end of the month episodes, which are all there for you to listen to. Ideally, you can listen to them all ad-free on patreon.com/Nialler9 is the best place to get them, and access to Discord and community and everything that encompasses that. But what kind of a year for music has been? I mentioned AI there. There was a lot of talk about AI in music earlier this year. I feel like it's died down a tiny bit.
There was a song released this year. There was an AI song contest this year, which kind of makes me feel a bit strange. A song called "How Would You Touch Me" from Synthetic Beat Brigade from the Netherlands was the winner of that.
Okay,
and I had a little bit of a listen through the songs. I was going to include them in an award, and then I decided that actually the whole thing depresses me too much, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I think the big story this year in the music industry, if last year was the year of kind of royalties and lawsuits and that kind of thing that really spurred on a lot of other lawsuits and so on, this year 2023 was definitely the year of thinking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, the future of music, the future of AI in music, and so on. And I mean, you and I have been talking about AI in music, since Grimes was first talking about it back in maybe 2021, maybe even 2020, when she was saying that this is the future. And she wasn't wrong. So
for sure, yeah, it's been I think maybe we're hitting a different version of that world, and it was kind of the funny part of music creation, or the novelty end of all that stuff. But now it's kind of getting into, okay, what does this actually mean? I know the labels are looking to allow people to use these kind of things without a real permission, because it's you can't stop this stuff anyway. We did this, can't remember the specifics, but like, I mean, here's an example of something that we did, which was like the novelty factor, which is this is our friend who we introduced earlier this year.
Hello and welcome to the Nialler9 podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about AI and the generation of fake songs that sound like real musicians, except they are all fake AI rappers. This is your host, Drake. I'm joined by Andrea Cleary. How you doing? AI and fake voices are happening at an alarming rate, and we need to stop it, or I will be very upset and make a mixtape and call it "You Already Lost. It's Not Fair." Let's dive in.
Okay, Drake, that's enough now. Thanks. Thanks,
Thanks, Drake.
You can go now.
Thank
Thanks, bye.
you.
Yeah, so that was just us messing around with some of the like novelty aspects of AI earlier this year. But yeah, how AI can be used to create music and all that kind of stuff.
But there was another really, really big story this year with AI, which I think didn't have the same level of like worry about it, which was the Beatles, kind of final song being released on streaming using.
Do we think, was that really AI though? Was that really AI? That was just a technique using computer programming, surely. It wasn't like accessing the neural network to remove vocals from a Beatles recording. I think that was a misnomer.
No, it's AI in as much as anything else is AI, which is that it's using pre-recorded music and kind of filling in the blanks. Like we all know that we don't have AI. We have like machine learning techniques, but it's using those the same kind of technology that was used, visually with Get Back, where you have like little bitty parts that are being filled in generatively, and that kind of thing was being used with John Lennon's vocals for their last kind of collaboration Now and Then, which was released on my birthday. And so many people texted me on my birthday to say your birthday and a new Beatles song, and I was very happy about it. But that was an example of a quote unquote AI sort of story this year that people were largely supportive
most of the AI we're talking about isn't that. Like, I mean, I get it, what you mean. It is probably using, models, or it's not using data sets probably to create that. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it is.
Well, yeah,
anyway, I just felt like it was just some modern like studio technique that is now people are like, oh, we used AI for this. I mean, it depends on how. I tell you what, the video for the song doesn't give me much hope that the AI was of a high quality, because have you seen the video, the Peter Jackson music video?
No, I haven't watched the video for it. No.
I mean, that's an award to give out. That's the worst music video of 2023. It's terrible. This is what happens when a music video director or a film director goes to make his first music video and gets it completely all wrong. It's awful. Anyway, that's an aside to all this stuff. But yeah, did you like the song Now and Then?
I did like the song. Yeah, I mean, it was just sort of like, you can't really judge a quote unquote new Beatles song on its own merits. There's too much history, there's too much excitement, there's just too much there to dive into. So it didn't feel like a new Beatles song, because it wasn't a new Beatles song, but it kind of felt, for me, it was just this kind of like, wow, here's a John Lennon vocal I've never heard before. Here's a song I haven't heard before. They sounded like the Beatles, and I'd never heard it before. So that was kind of a new experience. Do you know what I mean? Where, obviously there's probably hundreds of Beatles like demos and tracks like floating around that I haven't heard, but it just felt, if it had it had the sheen of newness about it that was exciting enough for me to be excited about it, but didn't feel like I was getting a new song, because it will never feel like that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's I mean, that was something interesting. I think we're going to hear a lot more about AI next year. Obviously, Grimes is doing a lot in AI, and maybe it's something we'll discuss more about. The other things in terms of
a trend prediction from me for next year is that we might get a court case about who owns something that was collaboratively made. I know these court cases are happening, but we might get like a landmark court case where a decision is actually made about whether or not AI or somebody who owns a model is entitled to songwriting credits or whatever it might be, royalties, whatever it might be. That's my trend prediction for next year. That we'll get a case like that.
If you're looking for more on this topic, I've mentioned Holly Herndon and Matt Dryhurst's Interdependence podcast before. There was a New Yorker piece with the pair of them. Recently, obviously, Holly Herndon does a lot of AI generative music and is actually involved in some of those issues to do with AI, whether like opting out as an artist, whether people are being compensated for being trained with an AI if they are musicians, for example, and especially in the context of a year where we've seen touring has been really difficult for bands to achieve and make a profit out of because of the rising cost of living and all this kind of stuff. Visas, countries shoring up their borders more, all of these things that make it more difficult for acts to thrive and succeed in beyond their home country. And then stuff like the merch cuts and things like that we saw campaigns around that. We talked to Cadence Weapon, Rolly Pemberton about that earlier this year, or maybe it was late last year. But small artists are being squeezed, and there's really very few signs of light for a lot of independent artists out there. But despite that, 2023, as we had in the last couple of weeks, we've seen some absolutely amazing music being made and released at that.
Okay, the
Look
cat
at
has
Arya there.
appeared.
Woo.
Hello, happy Christmas, everyone.
Well, I have a cat behind me asleep, but he's not going to say hello.
No.
He's definitely not a. He's not the hello type.
Oh, hello.
Boo is there.
Nap time.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of, it was pretty bleak a lot of the year in terms of the prospects of the music industry and everything. But despite that, I think, there's lots to focus on that was positive. Lots of great music, like we talked about, the likes of Lancome and the kind of year they've had, and people like Rachel Lavelle. And actually, I'm going to use Rachel Lavelle as to give my first award. It's to Rachel Lavelle. Every year I do the guest lists on the website, which is like top 10 tracks from different artists. And I swear Rachel Lavelle is probably in 70% of them this year. And the reason I'm giving Rachel Lavelle an award this year is because, as I've maybe mentioned it before, is the best opening line in a song. It is for Big Dreams, the title track of the album. I'm going to play that and we can hear what that is.
I came for the comedy, I left for the bus. There was nothing new to me. I have a lot of feelings. How strange to
So yeah, that is the line that I love on that song. I came for the comedy, I left for the bus. That was nothing new to me. I have a lot of feelings. A short story in 2 lines there. So really, really brilliant. And what a lovely song. What a lovely album Big Dreams is. And yeah, definitely one of those lines that stopped me in my tracks this year for sure, and made me go, wow, she's great, isn't she? We knew that already, but now we're like,
Now
we
we
really know
know.
that. We know for sure. Other than that, let's talk about we were talking about the live industry there. So what about best live gigs of the year that you saw? I know you don't go to many gigs, Andrea, but what did you go to this year?
I don't have a best live gig award.
You went to the 1975
'cause
this
I
year?
couldn't
Was that
remember.
this year?
Yeah, I couldn't remember what I went to. So I know I went to the 1975, and I know I went to CMAT, and that was basically November and January and November, and anything that happened in between that I don't remember. But my best live gig of the year would absolutely be the 1975 at their very best in the Three Arena in January. They were my like band of the year. They were the thing I thought about the most this year. Maddie Healy will be coming up in some of my awards, but that show is but like I know everyone's sort of sick of him, but
Yeah.
the thing about him and that band is that like the thing that you can't deny is their live show. Like no one, like even if you hate their music, you cannot deny that their live show is absolutely unbelievable, and that it is saying things and doing things, and that it's just like nothing else I've ever seen. Like and this is, the third tour I've seen them on, and every single time I've seen them, they've done something interesting. They've done something I'd never seen before. And this tour is like much more about like a kind of a performance art about like modern masculinity and the internet and so on. So yeah, that was definitely my live experience of the year, was that. And I dressed
You
as
also
Matty. I wore the suit and tie. It was just, and I brought my friend who wasn't a fan of them beforehand and converted her. And yeah, it was a brilliant night. It was great.
And just a reminder, you also did go see Harry Styles and Slane.
Oh, I
this year.
did.
We did a
Yeah.
whole
Well,
episode
Slane was
about
a
it.
whole experience. But Harry was great. He was great. But
Yeah.
but Slane is more.
We already know what your gig of 2024 is,
Do we?
because you'll be dressing up for it too.
Will I?
Yeah, you will. Yeah, yeah. shirt and tie and everything.
Shirt and tie and everything. What am I
A,
going to
a
in
little
2024?
a little band that are playing the Olympia, I think.
Oh, my boys. My
Make
boys.
come out in a
Yeah.
rash.
Yeah, that's
It's the
March, I
Hives I was
think.
talking about.
I think
It was the
that's
Hives.
March. Something like
A
that.
preview of what's to come. For myself, the 4 gigs I can think about this year that really stood out to me away from festivals are Lankham at Vicar Street in May.
Mhm.
I think seeing them there really contextualized False Lankham for me and made me. It just shone a spotlight on the other voices in that band other than Rady Pete. Obviously, Rady Pete is the main voice of Lankham in terms of the uniqueness of what she brings and how she sings. But just seeing tracks like On a Monday Morning and we talked about last week, Laura DeBoer and Mary Flynn being those big kind of folk traditional, like almost singer-songwriter songs that were sung live in not by Rady primarily, but by the other members of the band, Ian Lynch and Cormac as well. So just really loved that so much. And again, like I think seeing Lankham in Vicar Street is slowly becoming a bit of a tradition,
Mhm.
perhaps. Obviously, I wasn't able to go to the gig for Gaza as we were expecting at that time, and that was their biggest, the charity gig that would have been their biggest gig that they've ever played in Ireland, and a biggest charity event we've ever seen, maybe other than the Childline concerts in Ireland.
Bring them back.
But yeah, Lankham and Vicar Street, absolutely unreal. The other one I would shout out would be Peter Gabriel at the Tree Arena. Kind of went on spec to kind of go, whoa, what would this be like? I've always liked what he does, and really impressed by that show. And somebody who's in the twilight of their career and is really still pushing himself and creating great songs. He had his album out a few weeks ago called I.O. He was teasing a lot of those songs out this year. One of them, Road to Joy, is up there with one of my songs of the year in terms of like on my list of 100 anyway. Just a really great artist and really still asking questions and still talking about even, referencing a little bit AI and stuff like that. Other than that, there was Self Esteem in the Olympia. I mean, I've seen Self Esteem like too many times now, and actually, we did go see Self Esteem at the Mother Block Party earlier this year, and I think it was like, okay, that's it for me for a while. And Self Esteem, I think I've seen enough for. I've seen her like 5-6 times in the last 3 years or something like that. So I was like, need to knock that on the head. But it was lovely to see. But great as well. I think I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break, and then when she comes back, maybe next year with some new material, I think it's going to be very, very different and a new era. And then the other one, which is the one I travelled for, especially, was Jai Paul in London. Made the decision last minute, applied for the raffle tickets, went over. I got the raffle tickets, went over. I was humming and hawing, and I went to my own. A brilliant gig, just like one of my favorite artists, and to be there for his first ever like London gig was really special. Really special thing. He's since obviously played a lot of other things, and he played Coachella earlier this year, and that's its own thing. But
Friend of the
he's continuing
podcast,
to play
Craig
live.
Fitzpatrick, saw him in Paris recently enough as well, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jai Paul's had a good year. Welcome back, Jai Paul. I've remembered 2
Yeah.
other gigs that I went to this
And
year.
new songs too.
The Walkman in Vicar Street in August. I want to say August. That was a great gig. Really, really enjoyed that. Had never seen them before. Just a great set list of like the classics. It was really nice to see the Rat live. It was really nice to see in the New Year, Little House of Savages, like just like some of my favorite songs. And then also was Julia Jacqueline this year. And if Julia Jacqueline was this year, then I saw her and she was great. If she wasn't,
Oh, possibly. Yeah, I feel like I didn't go to that one.
yeah,
I missed the last one, whenever that was.
yeah,
so,
she was also
yeah.
great. So yeah, that's the live gig.
Oh, that was November 2022.
Oh well, sorry, Julia, I forgot about you last year.
You probably talked about it last year. I did the same about Kendrick. I was like, was Kendrick last year or this year? It was November last year, so not far off. And then I did see Rachel Lavelle actually at Early Music Week, and again, like I've talked about her a lot, she is a singular talent and definitely one of my favorites of the year. In terms of bands that I'm excited about, in that sphere actually, best live performance in terms of energy, and ones that I just want to shout out, because I don't know if you've seen the Young Fathers video live at Glastonbury, or if you've seen Young Fathers play live at all.
No.
They are something else. They are really, really, really special. a special band who do special things live on stage. And people talk about the band as this kind of gospel catharticism kind of purveyors. They're like, they really do something special. But I think in the last couple of years they've really brought their music to a different level, and you can see that in the likes of that new album, but in particular the song called I Saw, where they really do bring in this kind of raucous, brilliant, like they have these two backing singers who join them, two women who join them, and they bring an extra element to it, and it just becomes this really big, huge, pounding drum cathartic experience. I'll just play a little bit of it so we can get a bit of a flavor of it.
Now falling for your charms, your passion to your arms, handful of coins and a boulder, fist picking rubbish, cleaning rubbish. Hey, Steve, hey, rotten apple, take your door away. Buried in between justice, holier than thou. Sunset, gremlin, but it's 90 weeks, smile, wanna win. I wanna win. I saw what I saw. I keep on walking the line again. I saw what I saw. I keep on walking the line again. Our hearts on his bed, our line and his broad, our hand in the way. Our time to is gone, the bed to the spoon. It's not what the world is. The scars on your bread, and the store for a arm, a shield for a window, a roof overhead. Out of drugs, heavy is lead. They do what they want, they say what they want, they bleed how they want. It's nobody's fault. I saw what I saw. I keep on walking the line. I saw what I saw. I keep on walking the line. I keep on walking the line. I keep on walking the line. I saw what I saw. I saw what I saw. I keep on walking the line. I keep on walking the
Oh yeah, that was a bit of an indulgence there. Young Fathers, and I went to see them a little bit at Electric Picnic as well. They are brilliant. They're one of my favorite bands, and they really do bring a different kind of energy than most bands. And yeah, they're tapping into something special, I think, as well. So shout out to them. Okay, where do we move from here? Do you have anything you'd like to share? Any podcast award you'd like to give out?
Yes, please. So to follow on from last year I had the thing I would like to go away. Last
yeah.
year's thing I wanted to go away was people complaining about double albums. That feels
Oh.
I pulled up my list from last year, and that feels like a long time ago.
How quaint.
I know. The thing I'd like to go away this year is the concept of an ethical billionaire and just sort of broader Taylor Swift discourse, as in
Okay.
the sort of superfluous Taylor Swift discourse. Now, a lot of this is the fact that I have a TikTok account and I'm a woman in her 30s, and my algorithm is absolutely convinced that I want to hear teenagers' opinions on TikTok all day, every day. And I don't. I'm interested in what the teens have to say about TikTok, or about Taylor Swift rather, but not all the time. But yeah, the idea that Taylor Swift, who is due to become a billionaire basically any day now, have you heard about this, that her fans and certain people are kind of saying she will be the first ethical billionaire, as though that's something that's possible, even though she
No.
is, inherently exploiting workers, because that's how you become a billionaire. So that's the thing I'd like to go away. I don't believe in not holding her to the same standard as I would hold anybody else, just because she is Taylor Swift, and just because she is, you know, a popular feminist icon, these things aren't that important to me when we get down into the actual bones of the kind of feminism that I hold, which is one that doesn't have space for billionaires in it. And yeah, her carbon emissions, just, you know, what I'd like to go away is the defense of Taylor Swift's kind of wrongdoings when it comes to the environment, but also when it comes to her how it is that she's making money just because she is Taylor Swift. So that's something I'd like to go away.
So if she gave money to every 1 million to every small venue in the country, would that be okay?
Oh, she's
did
given she didn't she give a load of like her truck drivers or something, like 100 grand each or something? Like she's
No, I'm
definitely
just
sharing
talking
the
about
wealth.
is it
But that's
that JP McMahon stuff from the last week? Is like he doesn't pay taxes, but he just given, you know,
Mm.
GA clubs $1 million.
Yeah, and don't get me
every
wrong. I
county
mean, I
million.
think Taylor Swift, it was reported that she either like offset or changed the course of the recession that America, you know, the biggest economy in the world, was going to face because of her Eras tour. Like, her influence is undeniable, and her influence on the economy is undeniable. And I'm not saying that she's not paying her workers on that tour or anything like it, but her,
as if it's something to aspire to, though.
yeah, but her wealth is coming from sales of records, and it's coming from merch sales, and we do not have any access to, you know, where and how her records and merch are being made. We've no access to that information. And if, you know, if the rest of the industry is anything to go by, it's probably not good. And additionally, you know, I know it was last year, but she's done it with the 1989 re-release as well. Harry was saying to me that he saw, I think, 3 different covers for it when he was in Tower Records yesterday. So this, like, you know, overproduction of vinyl records, which are a limited resource, in order to, you know, sell something as a collectible in order for her to make more money. I don't like that. I don't like it at all. So
yeah, fair. When we did have Anna Jacob on from Swift Again talking about that, and I did
mhm.
talk to her about that idea. She just said, "Look, it's people want to collect stuff, then they will." But I guess, yeah, I think when it comes to when it's children and who are being asked to, you know, it's just a bit cynical when you're asking children to, like, you know, sometimes when magazines in the past used to do like collect all the covers
Yeah.
of special covers.
A bit cynical.
And, yeah.
It's no, and I mean, paper isn't a depleting resource either, whereas like vinyl records have an enormous impact on the environment. So we should absolutely not be encouraging that sort of behavior at all.
Okay, well, I do have a Taylor Swift related thing that I'm going to talk about. Actually, I'll leave that to later as well,
Okay.
because it makes more sense later on.
Do you have
So,
another award?
spoiler alert, I don't have a sax solo of the year because I couldn't think of one. I couldn't think of one this year, but I do have a solo of a type.
Okay.
It is a different instrument. It is a solo played by the bagpipes. So
What
here
are
we
the
go.
bagpipes if not a kind of Scottish saxophone?
Yeah, why not? This is as played by Bridge Campbell, who I saw Another Love Story earlier this year. This is from Caroline Polachek's album, and this is a song called Blood and Butter. And we lead in here to the bagpipe solo shortly.
Fire and sky, let me dive through your face to the sweetest kind of pain. Call you up, nothing to say. No, I don't need no entertaining. When the world is a bed, give me green and ripping red, or get closer than your new tattoo.
So yeah, I couldn't think of a sax solo, so I went with a bagpipe solo.
That's
There's
A-okay.
plenty of saxophone that I heard this year that I really liked. I mentioned Rachel Lavelle. Ryan Hardigan is a fine sax player. You can hear plenty of sax on that record, but it's not the kind of like sax solo, like big marquee and lights kind of solo I'm thinking of when I award this one. So it's a fallow year, I think, unless you have one.
I don't. I
or
was
anything
100%
equivalent.
relying on you for the sax solo of the year.
Yeah, I
but
know. I was just like looking through the list of everything I could see, and I know I'm gonna kick myself in the next week or so and go, that was the one. That was the one
Yeah.
I forgot about. And throughout the year, I've kind of gone, I should write that down when I
Ah.
think of them. And I wonder now if I have actually done that at some point in my notes and being like, oh yeah, that's the one.
Mm.
That's the one for later in the year, Niall. No, I don't think so. I don't think I've done it.
It might have just been a
Don't think I've
fallow
done
year
it.
for the sax, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's
We
it's
await the
ubiquitous,
revival.
but not standing out in the spotlight as much as we'd maybe hope for it to be.
That's okay.
But anyway, it will again, and we will pick a sax solo. But for now, that is the bagpipe solo of the year. Anyway, there's few and far between. Not much competition for that one.
That's okay.
But I thought it was worth including.
Okay, I would like to put forward a new award,
Yes.
which I'm terming the Alan Maguire of Juvenalia, the Alan Maguire Award for most photo shoots. He texted me on Tuesday and he said, I don't know if you've recorded the final Nialler9 episode yet, but I'd like to nominate Boy Genius for the
Yes,
award
Alan.
for most
Yes.
photo shoots. And I just thought that was such a good shout. Like, my God. So I did like a quick Google search. They have dressed as obviously Nirvana. They've dressed as separately Cowboys and Brokeback Mountain, separate themes.
Separately.
In suits, fine. A kind of a vintage prom one where they're smeared in cake, a sort of Marie Antoinette sort of one, and then also a bizarre one where they were in kind of big puffer ski jackets. Others
That
are
was like
available.
the lagging jackets. I saw that. That's the
Yeah,
Sterling
where
one,
they're
yeah.
sort of they look like the I live above a creche, and in the wintertime I see the little children running around outside in their big puffer jackets.
Yeah,
and they
but
just,
then it gets a bit
like,
like
boom.
it gets a bit fetish down below when they're all wearing black, and then she's tied up. And you're
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
it
there's
gets a
something
bit
else going on here.
strange. Yeah, and I mean that's just a selection of some of the photo shoots this band have done this year. So I mean I hope next year we can continue the Alan Maguire Award for most photo shoots. But I thought that was a great shout.
The Horny for Photo Shoot Award.
Yes,
by
yeah,
Alan
they
Maguire's
fucking love a photo
Horny
shoot.
for Photo Shoot Award.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good one. That was a good one. Very good.
What have you got?
Okay, I'm gonna go with another one, an award that we've established previously, the best guest rap verse,
Yes.
aka the Andre
Andre
3000
3000
Award.
Award.
Now, as you know,
Who did not rap
Andre
this year?
3000. Well, I'm about to burst that bubble.
What?
He did rap this year because not only did he release his lovely jazz album, New Sun, was it called? Yep, yeah, where he doesn't rap on it and he plays loads of woodwind. He did actually rap on a Killer Mike song this year.
Oh,
And
he
it's called
did.
Scientists and Engineers. It features Future, Aaron Allen Kane. Yeah, I mean, anytime Andre raps, it's notable. So it's time to give him his flowers for this year. This is Andre 3000 on Scientists and Engineers on Killer Mike's track.
Communication coming in. Too much that I can't communicate with all of them. I do wish I had scientists or engineer friends. Let's go. Get out of here, petrol is cheaper than it's ever been. And then, who's to say when art will end? All I know is when the portrait painted, better have your portion of the rent. $1 more and you will get upgraded. When you think you've made it, you are then just tolerated, overrated. Hope I'm 80 when I get my second win. Small potatoes, all I ate before potato chips would cut my corner lips. Operator, I would pray that you connect me to a sip of sangria, Zambia, camera, cameo, hand me a handful of hips. A stamina, stampede of happily happenings, dabbling into a bliff. Beyond neon, beyond the ambience, be honest, you promise that you will live. Do summers ever forget? Put your must feel like a kid. Cucumber will make a drip. Do jump on and hit a split. Hookers don't really do shit. Do get lantern in it, bitch. Rebelling is like an itch. Oh.
I'ma live forever.
Yeah, diamond shaped like a teardrop. I got the streets in the head like fly, just like a sky.
So I couldn't let the year pass without really acknowledging the fact that, despite all of the discourse around Andre this year, he did actually rap on a record and on that Killer
I
Mike
forgot
record.
all
So,
about that, and that was great.
yeah, easy to forget. Now, no, it's probably not his best work, but sure, look, any Andre verse is still noticeable. And I did go around and look at all of my end of year and my favorite rap songs of the year, and I was like, nah, that's the one I'm picking. But other than that, I also have rap beat of the year. That's another one we've done before. And I'm gonna say there's a couple here probably. Well, let's go with the rap beat of the year first. I think this is the JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown Perfect song. I love this. This is blown out and weird and cool.
Like NASCAR, nigga, you bet not go there. But you better get your mind right, boy. Let that shit all over that windshield. Nigga, I'm real right, go stand up. Well, how fuck plan B? I'm like this one, I ain't got a lot of kids. I just pull out and straight out in. Keep it up, like, okay, okay. I see what you're doing. I came up like a ruins. No step up, it's eyes and doing. Sleeping there. Hey, 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 hey. Going down like Mayday, yeah. I'ma make it do what it do. She do what I say. You would think I knew voodoo. Say, yeah, hey, 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 hey. It's all like so do. So I put a gang her do shoot. Put the chill on the tail, broke a rope, go shoot. Choose fuck, I'm with that loose screw. I'm a J shoot. They got out to the low. You was like I hear crip those bills and ass up to the moon. Acting like I know who he is, and I'm looking like, who are you? It's Peggy and Benny. Everybody know what's in the code red flag. Got the game on the price. Any niggas gotta put out like we super villains. We done changed the time. Walking this bitch to the wall. Fuck what you ain't got time to. Rappers be calling the cops.
That is perfect. JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown. I have a couple of more songs that fit that mold.
Just
I wanna
while we're
shout out.
on Danny Brown, I want to give a shout
Yeah.
out to Harry and I every year when the lists come out. We do the Guardian list, we do the Pitchfork list, and we listen through the top 50 songs. We give them 30 seconds each. And if we don't like it after 30 seconds, we skip to the next one. But we listen to all of the top 20 songs. Number 17 on the Pitchfork list was Billy Woods / Kenny Seagal, Year Zero,
that's a good one,
featuring
yeah.
Danny Brown, which neither of us had heard before, but both of us just absolutely loved. So maybe we need to
Yeah, that's my favorite record in
Yeah.
terms of the Billy Woods stuff that he featured on this year. That
really,
one,
really, really good
great
track,
album.
like really good track. So we both absolutely loved that. So yeah, maybe a
It's a great,
Danny Brown
song
award.
on that record. Yeah, a great song on that record with Samuel Herring from Future Islands on it.
Yes.
FaceTime.
That was on the list as well,
track
I think.
Yeah, really good. And yeah, Danny Brown's album itself was pretty weird because like even the pre-release single was kind of this weird psych rock cool thing, but then his voice completely changes on the rest of it, and you're like, oh, is this actually Danny Brown? I'm listening to it, but it came out in November, so one of those ones that I definitely need to return to at some point. One of the ones that an album that was released in November, and I want to shout out briefly, is H31R. They are a duo that was released. They released their album called Headspace. They're from New Jersey. It was released on Big Data, the Ninja June imprint, and just a kind of it reminded me a little bit of a Shabazz Palaces, stuff like that, kind of like alt hip hop stuff. Here is a tiny bit of a song called Train of Thought.
And in my mind, I see designs constantly morphing, they one of a kind. Figments of color, discovering mind, fluttering nature. I'm a butterfly, out the cocoon, popped out the bright in the room, maroon. The image carry myself through the gloom. Boom. And in my mind, identity tried to murk me, she get murky. Underneath all of these facets, the patterns added. On top of physique is not for fashion. I've been stacking layers of heat where it's already hot to be. Attaching new details to the fabric of me.
H31R Heather, maybe, or I don't really know what that stands for. I meant to check that again. Headspace is the name of the album anyway. H31R, you can find them there. And then after really never having listened to Little Yachty before, I actually ended up featuring him twice this year. I would say he obviously earlier in the year we discussed he did the album around this kind of psych rock album that I think for a lot of people, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it works for me. I don't know how a lot of people feel about it, but it ended up being it could fill the void in the January window of like time where there was really not that many releases, and allowed me to. I really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of like somebody had made a mixtape of Tame Impala instrumentals and put Lil Yachty over it, and it worked really well. But the music is all original. Yeah, some of his stuff doesn't quite work, but I think it's really fun in its own way. So let's start here. That's the album, of course, and that sounds a bit like this.
Imagine life without me is so waste of time. You want the kind of love that can make a child do just anybody. Good love, fill my body up like a glass when you pour it all out. If you know me, you know I'm mine. Someone like me is hard to find. No mistaken if I am there, well aware you are.
That's a bit of that record that doesn't feature Lil Yachty on it, but this does feature it. The many years ago, Lil Yachty talked about J. Cole and how he didn't like him when he was a young rapper, and he said many things back when he made headlines in that way. But now he's an older rapper, and he's kind of a bit has more of the way of the world. And the two of them, J. Cole and Lil Yachty, released a track called "The Secret Recipe" a few months back, and it's so good. Here is a bit of that.
Baby run like window shoppers. I see through every front. I speak out what I need. I post everything I want. I block out anything I hate. It's still the hound is still unpaid. The notice went unseen. The tenants too relaxed. The standards have collapsed. They wrote me in with lame. They treat me like I'm them. They hate I overcame. Refuse to pat my back. Refuse to shake my hand. Refuse to give me props when I am not around. Refuse to act like I ain't shift the sound. Like I ain't push the culture. Like several vultures ain't come after me. Like several vultures ain't come after me. Still I keep it P. Yeah, we still digress. And I'm playing checkers. I ain't playing chess. Cause I don't go around on niggas.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that this year as well. Andrea, what's your next choice for podcast awards?
My next choice for podcast of the podcast of awards for my podcast awards. Do you want? Let's do villain of the year.
Oh,
I have two.
Oh, okay. Can I guess one?
Yes.
Is Miss Maddie Healy there?
No. Of course
Well,
not.
he's both to you. He's hero and villain.
He's
He's
everything to me.
A bifurcation here.
No, I believe he was Pitchfork's villain of the year.
Oh, right.
No, my villain of the year is an actual villain. Spotify. Spotify, absolute villains of the year. New changes to their royalty payments from early next year will mean
this sucks.
that you will need to have a minimum of 1,000 listens to be paid a cent or a penny, or whatever other currency you use to make any money from your music. It's scummy behavior, basically. And I mean, they already don't treat their artists well at all, but this was it just seemed like such an easy cash grabby decision that is just gonna have, as usual, repercussions for independent and smaller artists who are literally just fighting it out for scraps on that app anyway. So that's my first villain of the year. My second villain of the year will be recognizable to some, not recognizable to others, non-musical. Does the name James Somerton mean anything to you?
Oh, this is one of your reality TV shows.
No.
Is it?
No, it's not.
One
of my reality.
Okay.
What reality TV shows do I watch?
I couldn't remember which one you were really into at the moment there. So, or most recently, I was like, yeah.
Most recently.
Okay, who's this?
Oh, I mean,
Who's
Big Brother. No. I mean, if we're going Big Brother,
in one of your programs. Is this one of your programs?
No, James Somerton it will be familiar to anyone who's watched the video. You're a new father, you haven't watched the video. H Bomber Guy is a very, very, very excellent YouTube content creator, and he made a 4-hour long video about plagiarism and YouTube, which culminated in basically the destruction of a career of this guy called James Somerton, who is a queer content creator, in that both he is queer and creates content about queer films and television, mostly films, which was basically all plagiarized from smaller writers, from other queer creators. And it was, so the YouTube video is called Plagiarism and You brackets Tube. Yeah, it's 3 hours 50 minutes long. It's
incredible.
Absolutely incredible piece of investigative journalism. H Bomber Guy is one of my favorite YouTubers for a long time now anyway. But, a lot of people have seen this video, people who were a fan of him and who weren't. And James Somerton was somebody who I wasn't that familiar with. I think I remember watching one of his videos before and just not really clicking with his vibe or whatever. I hadn't noticed anything untoward about his videos. I just didn't think that they were particularly well researched. But for a lot of queer people, he was a very important creator for them, introduced them to kind of queer theory when it comes to film analysis and so on, but all plagiarized. And it was an amazing video, an amazing expose. And yeah, all of the ad revenue from that video is going to be donated to as many of the people who were plagiarized as he can find as possible, which is really cool.
Wow.
But yeah, he has to be, one of the villains of the year, just because of how he responded initially was awful. He basically deny, and then basically just kind of like fell off the face of the earth, lost, all his Patreon subscribers, or many of them privated or deleted all his videos. Like, it's just, it's in like hunker down mode now at the moment for James Somerton. But
Nice.
yeah, would recommend it. You have a new baby. You're probably not going to get around to it for another 18 years, but it is.
Well, I mean, you do spend a lot of time just sitting there waiting for the baby to eat.
Well, I'd highly
food,
recommend
so
it. Yeah, if you do find yourself
I'm
in front
watching
of
a lot of
YouTube.
TV at the moment because
Okay.
I can't really listen to
Mhm.
something necessarily as easy as it's easier to watch than
Yeah.
it is to purely listen a lot of the time. I
Well,
find.
I'll send you the link. It's very, very good, and it's just so it's not a good thing to see someone's career end in front of your eyes, but there does feel like there's a bit of justice in it when you see like just how small the creators were who he was stealing from. I mean, we're talking blog posts, word for word
Yeah,
being
right.
stolen and
Okay.
spoken down a camera. So yeah, my two villains of the year: Spotify and James Somerton.
You seem to be on a lot of those kind of YouTube
Mm.
personalities, video essayists.
Yes.
Maybe it's something we can talk about again. I know you've. What's the guy with the music theory guy you were mentioning before? I've subscribed to him, but I can never remember anybody's name.
So there's Adam Neely, who is an excellent
Adam Neely, yeah.
video essayist, jazz musician, but talks a lot about music theory, and has had some really excellent videos about kind of musicology and the role that musicology plays in the kinds of court cases we've seen with the Marvin Gaye, Ed Sheeran, and so on. But I mean, while we're on that subject, I might actually shoehorn in another award here,
Sure.
so that I may mention one of my other YouTube guys. Worst song of the year.
Oh, good. I'm glad you have one. I was trying to think of what is a
So
worst song
my
of the
worst
year.
song of last year was that Twinkle Twinkle Little Bitch, which I forgot about and wish I'd forgotten about still. Is it just even saying it makes me cringe? Twinkle Twinkle
That's
Little
all
Bitch.
you have to say. You don't have to say anything else.
So awful.
Oh my God.
But I mean, this year the song is a bit more seriously bad. But yeah, my number one boy, Pat Finnerty, released a What Makes This Song Stink video. I've talked about him on the podcast before, but if anyone hasn't watched him, please go and watch him. He's incredible. He released a long awaited video about Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town, which I'm sure you've seen the discourse
I've heard about
around.
this.
Yeah, let's not play it.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's not play
Good
it.
idea.
But
Let's not
I'll
hurt you like that.
I'll get the lyrics up. It is
That's a good idea, yeah.
song about loving your neighbors and protecting your neighborhood and being an American, So I mean,
Of course.
yeah. So it's a song in itself, which, the idea is, here's some of the lyrics: cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. We'll try that in a small town. See how far you make it. And then he tried to shoehorn in a little rhyme here. See how far you make it down the road. Blah, blah, blah. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't try that in a small town. And the music video is kind of, hypes up the egregiousness and the racism, because he's singing outside a building that was used once for like lynchings, with like footage of Black Lives Matter protests. So it's like it's an overtly racist song, it's an overtly racist video.
Wow,
Like, it is
okay.
incredibly it's gross. It's really, really gross. But, and I mean, all that is bad, but also the song is really bad as well, which isn't worse, but it's not good either. So I mean, it's a quote unquote country song, so it's using a lot of the kind of it's just stoking the fire, and it seems like the fans of what's his name singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. What's his name? Rob Ritchie.
Kid Rock.
That's sort of like yeah, like fuck yeah, America,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
flag
yeah,
is
yeah.
great, racism's good, that sort of stuff.
Delighted to hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and he's all, I mean, there's a great analysis of everything I'm talking about here in the Pathfinity video, which again I encourage people to watch. But he's singing about like being from a small town and looking out for your neighbors, and he's like, he lives in this mansion, like he's sold like millions of records, he's so wealthy, he's not a small town guy. And it's just the sort of like the cynicism of a lot of modern like USA country music being written by these millionaires and singing about like small town life and singing about like how much they enjoy being a farmer, and they don't like fancy things, and it's
Yeah.
all gross. So that, to me, worst song of the year. It was hard for me to think of like, I thought about doing like, I'll give a little shout out for like worst. I didn't want to talk about Taylor Swift too much because she is in a few of my awards, but like worst guest verse of the year was Ice Spice on that Taylor Swift track
Yeah,
on
that's
Karma.
bad.
That was bad, but I mean, it's nothing compared to Try That in a Small Town, which is truly horrendous. So yeah.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah. What have you got?
I have now some positivity and some look forward. We're going to look forward a little bit through the vessel of songs I like this year from relatively new artists, and just shout out a couple of new bands that I am excited about. Many other people are excited about as well. Certainly, our Discord are excited about it because this first band played a gig at 11 p.m. on Tuesday in the Workman's Club, and they are called the Last Dinner Party, and they are really fun UK kind of pop rock band, sound a bit like
But they're
ABBA
industry
sometimes.
plants.
Industry plants is what they
That
are.
was them, wasn't it? That was the
But
big discourse.
that's them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're making good. They're on
Good
a
for them.
tour at the moment. Swart and Hosier. They've been releasing some great singles, and this is their most recent one, My Lady of Mercy.
Baby, make me proud. See what's I wanna hear them sing. Rest your feet on me, my lady of mercy. Suck me, kiss me, step through the
Nothing wrong with that. Really good, really great. Very well written, lovely pop rock music. I think they're really exciting in terms of that kind of band. We haven't had one like that for a while. They're all women as well, so that brings a whole different dimension in terms of fanaticism as well. And I think it's really interesting. I think I would have loved to be at that gig on Tuesday, and it looked like it was really fun. And couple more artists I want to shout out. Look, anyone who's paying attention to Nialler9 or any of my output in the last while will know both of these and many others as well. Brick Nasty, the band from Ballymun, the kind of jazzy, punky, soul, hip hop band. Live, they're completely out there in terms of their musicianship. Really great. But I really loved their debut mixtape in a cruiler this year. I think they're going to do a lot more. They're doing a couple of gigs in the Sugar Club in the early first week in January, I think, with like Kojak and Maverick Sabre that sold out instantly. I think they're ones to watch for next year, even more so than they were this year. Here's 30 seconds of Ducks in a Row.
What the buddies running it. And I hope you run, cause I hope you no jokes, no fun, no look at me.
Okay, another artist who's Irish who I want to shout out as well is on the way up this year already. Really very quick in terms of about a year ago, I went to see Sarah Crean but like just playing a little acoustic set near my house in the playground near Drimna and Rialto. And since then, she's really been making this really interesting singer-songwriter indie pop kind of music that kind of reminds me a little bit of Sorka Richardson. Is got a good team around her. Manager is CMAT's manager, and there's lots of good things happening, it seems, on the touring front as well. Supported Blackpink in Hyde Park, which I mentioned earlier, and just really every song that she's released is getting better and better. This is the latest one called "The Subtle Art of Past" from Sarah Crean.
Passion was to come. You resolved me, coach the level of the breeze, like words within a scene, with 7 days to go. We could do without it, we could do without it, we could do without it all. Fighting on a Thursday, crying on a Friday, saying things we'd never said before. We could do without it, we could do without it, we could do without it.
Sarah Crean, so I get Brick Nasty, Sarah Crean, and The Last Dinner Party as well. 3 kind of very new, relatively new acts that, if you weren't paying attention like we are all the time, they'd be my decent enough shouts for next year in terms of doing more. So yeah, a good
Right.
one. What have we got?
I have biggest letdown of the year.
Oh, lovely. I was wondering about whether I should include this or not.
So
And
I have
decided,
2.
I'll leave off. But now, okay, great. Maybe I'll dive in as well.
Yeah, one is controversial, and if you're Louise Bruton, I'd like you to cover your ears for this bit. I'm gonna say it. Rihanna at the Super Bowl. Was it as iconic as it could have been? I don't think so. Rihanna at the Super Bowl is my first one, and my second one is very obvious. Frank Ocean at Coachella. What the fuck was that? What an absolute nightmare.
He may have single-handedly ruined his legacy in a single weekend.
Honest to God,
by what
we
happened
were
there.
all so excited. There was ice rinks, there were dancers, and then no, it was especially. I mean, I think I said this at the time when we were talking about it, but like Frank at Coachella, it was one of those things where it was like Beyonce's homecoming was at Coachella. Do you know what I mean? This is she set the level. And
Yeah.
if you're an artist like Frank Ocean, who I think, in terms of being like beloved, the Frank Ocean fans love Frank Ocean as much as Beyonce fans love Beyonce. There might not be as many of them who feel that kind of fanatical kind of way about him, but they do love him as much. He needed to bring a big show. He didn't. It was disappointing. And I do feel similarly about Rihanna. I think while the staging and everything was great, like her vocals were great, there was just something missing for me. There was a kind of a moment that was missing, like when you look back at the history of like great performances at the Super Bowl. To me, it's not in the top 10, might not even be in the top 15. So those are my two letdowns of the year. One much more severe than the other, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I have one that is actually relevant to you because I saw this last week and I was going to text you and I didn't because babies. You mentioned Troye Sivan recently. What I
My
didn't
boy.
know is that Back Baby, that song, has a sample of Jessica Pratt on it.
Mhm.
Jessica Pratt being the Australian singer-songwriter, kind of folky singer-songwriter. I was like, oh, look at that. That's mad. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that. So anyway, surprising sample of the year. Let's give that an award. I was pleasantly surprised by that one. In terms of pop song of the year, we don't need to play it because it's already playing in your head as soon as I say it. I say Bad Idea Right by Olivia Rodrigo is probably that song.
Yeah.
If you have an equivalent or agree.
No, I
disagree?
100% agree. I mean, like I could easily choose another song from that album. Do you know what I mean? I could choose Getting
It's
Back
in the
from that
wheelhouse.
album,
It's
but
it's on the album.
it's
yeah.
like it's. I mean, it definitely, no matter what the song is, it goes to Olivia Rodrigo. She's my pop star of the year for sure.
Yeah.
She's just amazing. I feel like this was really her year. I talked a lot about her in the albums of the year and in the songs of the year, so I won't say too much more. But yeah, she's up
Great.
there. One of my people of the year.
Okay.
Comeback
Some
of
more
the year.
negativity, perhaps? What was that?
Comeback of the year.
Oh, do we have one?
I do.
Okay.
Who
go
is it?
ahead. It's not the Beatles. Don't say it's the
No,
Beatles.
it's not the Beatles.
The Irish Times had the Beatles as their comeback of the year. I
What?
was like, no.
When the Hives
That's
were
not
right
our-
there, the death of Randy Fitzsimmons.
Oh, sorry.
Come on.
Sorry.
Are you joking? The Beatles is the comeback of the year. I mean, who's going to tell them the sad news?
Yeah.
No, the Hives. Come on, absolute comeback of the year. You couldn't have asked for better. I mean, they are killing it. I can't wait to see them next year. Death of Randy Fitzsimmons was a great album. They brought me so much joy this year, and it was just one of those things where I was like, God, I'm glad they're back. And I rarely say that about bands. So yeah, comeback of the year, the Hives.
This has been your the love story of the podcast this year. Your rekindling of the love of the Hives. Has
Yeah,
been,
it really has been.
It's been really heartwarming and really nice.
Yeah,
Just,
because I had
really
I had a
lovely
hard
thing.
year with Matty. Like it's been a really hard year to be a 1975 fan, and then I just had
Yeah.
the Hives on the other side of this, just being where I'm just like, oh God, it's so nice to have an uncomplicated relationship with a rock band where I don't have to defend it to everybody. So yeah, the Hives, absolutely my comeback of the year.
Yeah, the Irish Times one, by the way, was Best Artist Comeback. It was the Beatles, Madonna, the Rolling Stones, Everything But the Girl, and Britney Spears.
Okay,
I'm like,
what the Rolling Stone song is rubbish. The Beatles are not back.
the album.
What was the other
They're
one?
not back.
Madonna hasn't
she
released new
never
music.
really-
She's going on tour, but she hasn't released new music. That's not a comeback. It's a
then Britney
it's a
just-
victory lap. And then
I mean, we talked about Britney and the Britney book, but like,
yeah, but
she
again,
didn't-
that's not a comeback. That's like
Yeah. So anyway,
it's a clapback. It's not a comeback.
yes.
It's the Hives. That's
Okay.
Come on. Cop yourselves on Irish Times. What have you got?
I wonder if there's anyone else I can think of that maybe the Bothy Band are back for their first gig in 45 years. How about that for a comeback? That's something.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of interest. In that one.
Worst comeback, Dexys. That album was bad. That was a
Oh, I
bad,
didn't have
bad,
to
bad
listen to it,
album.
thankfully.
I think I gave that 1 star in Arena.
Yeah, the good thing about having when you don't do those kind of shows that often, you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I missed all that.
Yeah.
I missed all these superfluous releases. But I'll talk about this. My most pointless release of the year
Please.
is the drumless version of Daft Punk's and Random Access Memories.
Oh,
Why?
I forgot about
Why?
that.
Why?
Do you know
Why
what
did
this
they do
album
this?
needs? Fewer drums.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Just
It's
do a
so
Pharrell-less
pointless.
version of it.
Yeah. Oh, very
Yeah,
weird.
not good.
Very weird.
While we're doing some kind of quick fire ones, non-starter of the year. This is non-musical related. For me, it was Threads. I signed up for Threads. It was, released EU wide there, the other day. Signed up for it. Spent about a day and a half there, and then I was like, "What the fuck am I doing here?" And deleted it. I was like,
Yeah.
"No, I do not need this. Like, absolutely not. Like, no."
I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to get onto the fucking thing in the first place. And then I signed up with my private account instead of my Nialler9 account. And then when I did actually open it up, all I saw was this pro-Israel, anti-Semitic kind of all this stuff. And I was like, nope, I'm out of here. Bye.
It was
Don't need
one of those
this."
things where it was like I signed in and I just immediately saw everybody who I had either muted or blocked from Twitter back in the day just on my timeline, and I was like, oh. And I know that you can differentiate between, if people don't know, because it's actually not a great UI in this case, if you click the at the top of the screen, you can choose between a For You page and a following page, like a chronological following. So just a tip for anybody who is using it to do that. But I was just like, God, there's a load of people here that I've either muted or blocked. I spent quite a lot of time over the years muting and blocking. And I was just like, I don't need this. I'm kind of happy over in Blue Sky. Like, no one likes my stuff. Very few people interact with me, but the people that do, I'm very happy that they do. I'm just like, this is fine. This is the level of interaction I want on
Okay.
text posts. I
That's
just
allowed.
do not need Threads at all. So I was really happy
Yeah,
at my decision to just be like, actually, do you know what? No,
don't need this.
no,
We don't need another hero.
we don't, Niall. We don't.
So that's Okay, you mentioned rapid fire. Let me do some rapid fire
Yeah.
ones there. Then I will start with a wonky beat of the year, one I've picked before.
Mhm.
And
Is this a bad thing,
is,
wonky?
No, it's good. It's
Okay.
a good thing. Wonky is
Okay.
good in this regard.
Like
it
sick.
is Big Hammer by James Blake. Dropped that in a weird part there, but that was Big Hammer by James Blake. A discovery from the Nialler9 guest lists of the year from Elaine Malone, who shared her favorite songs of 2023 with us. I found a lovely release called Omni Gardens. The album is called Plant Shop, very relaxed, kind of chill kind of thing. And Elaine said of it, my most recent find is the intoxicatingly calm ambience of Omni Gardens. There's a strangely archaic tone of archival synth arpeggios, and the quality makes everything feel found. He's achieved a cosmic quietude that lulls the mind into submission. And here's a bit of that. All very pretty stuff. Let's stay in the ambient zone for a second and shout out a ambient release from Garrett Quinn Redmond, or Ash Arish, another one that it was on my albums of the year list, Irish albums of the year list, but I didn't get to really write about it other than featuring it. So our Asharish comes from getting involved, where Garrett Quinn Redmond got involved in the art of tape loops. He says a practice he discovered while performing with Ross Chaney and Miles O'Reilly in late November 2020. Fascinated, he spent months experimenting with the technique. By cracking open the shell of a cassette, cutting the tape and splicing the ends together, I created repeating sound loops of varying lengths. After reassembling and slotting the cassette into the Tascam Porta Studio, I recorded and played back the sounds of the tape loop. Those sounds were then manipulated using the pitch wheel to make subtle and warbly inflections to the recordings. This is achieved by speeding up and slowing down the playback speed of the tape, which offers dynamic contrast in both mood and texture. So that's kind of an example. You may hear this kind of technique used on the John Francis Flynn records as well, which Ross Chaney is involved in. And R.F. Chaney is his artist name as well. He's got some kind of stuff under his own name as well. So that's Arasharish by Garrett Quinn Redmond. To the dance floor now with a couple of tracks. This is my favorite modern Italo song that was released this year. It is by a band called Nuovo Testamento, and the song is called Heat. Yeah, staying in the DJ zone. This is, well, where are they in Nuovo Testamento? I hope they're actually, well, they're definitely European anyway. Oh, Los Angeles and Bologna based. Yes, love it. Okay, great. My next award is a song that I discovered this year that I love playing out. I played this at a lot of festivals this summer. This is a song called New Start, the Loose Control band mix. This is the Natalie Smash is the name of this. And this is a song I played a lot while I was DJing this year. That was Natalie Smash, new start, the Loose Control Band NY Club Mix. It actually came out last year, but I heard it this year and I played it a lot this year out while I was DJing because it's kind of a different brain to what I usually talk about here. So I wanted to shout that one out. And finally, in terms of my quick fire ones, best album about a bus route in Galway. This is Tra Fadine, and on 424 is the name of it, named after a bus route. Here is a bit of their song from the album, which I can't read because the text is too small. K Modina Sul Sahai Viz. Yes, that is an album inspired by the bus route that goes from Galway City to Connemara. So Tra Fadine is the name of that band, a band of soloThe had another love story earlier this year. And yeah, they're great. They're really cool. They're that was released in November as well, so a late addition to the lists.
Great. I have the thing we were given that nobody asked for and nobody wanted, the Harry Award. He insisted that I include this.
Okay.
The Spotify DJ.
Oh yeah, good shout.
Have you clicked into that guy?
Yeah, it's
Harry
so weird.
clicked into him by accident one day and got such a fright. I don't know who he is. I don't know why he's talking to me.
I'm gonna go ahead and play the song for you, and
Where
you're
is
like,
he?
all right, man. Have a good
Where is
day.
he?
Bye. So the idea is
Got
like
a few songs you seem to have a lot of love for lately. Caroline Polachek up first.
Why is he talking to me? Who is this guy?
He's an AI
does-
genius.
Does anyone have a woman's voice?
No, it's just the same guy.
Why is he
That's
a guy?
it. That is it. And
So
he's American,
funny.
obviously.
Yeah, when we
So, like,
have AI tools where we are asking them or making them do things like Alexa or Google, when they are there to serve us, they are women. But when they're there to share music with us and recommend music to us, they're men. I think that's
fair
interesting.
point, Andrea Cleary.
I think that's interesting.
point, yeah.
Spotify villain of the year.
Right enough talk. I mentioned David Kitt. Let's get it going with that and some other music you've been listening
Wrong.
Get out of here. I don't know. I think his name is Xavier.
Oh,
Like, he
that's
called
so
himself
weird.
X. I don't know.
No, out of here.
Don't
Bye.
need him. Don't want him.
Thanks for
Go
that.
away.
Please go away. My friend, please leave us
Um,
alone. Okay, I'm in the Beyond Music.
You're in the end zone.
I'm in the end zone here for myself. What have you got left? I
Yeah,
have
I
a
think I've-
music
I've
documentary.
just got, I've got film, book, television, podcast. I'm in the end zone here.
Okay,
so
we're in the end zone. Okay, best music documentary of the year that I saw is the Wham one. Really
I
enjoyed
agree.
that. A great. Sometimes when you just want a very straightforward like history. You don't need like I just wanted a history.
wasn't
Sometimes you just want a
flashy.
biography. I don't want all of this. Do you know what I was really disappointed by? Of course, Shane MacGowan sadly passed away in the last couple of weeks, and I tried to watch the Crock of Gold film, and it was just wrecking my head. To be honest, I was like, I really would just love a great Pogues documentary about the band and Shane and what, but no, it was just full of like animation and like background stuff about him growing up in Tipperary, and I was like, there's too much of this. I want a history of, I want to hear about the band and the music and Shane as well, but also it's all of this, like it was produced by Johnny Depp and all this kind of shit. I was just like, please.
Less said about him, the better.
Please,
But the
don't
Wham
need
documentary,
this.
like the only sort of like, thread that held it together was that they had like the scrapbooks. That was it George's mom kept the scrapbooks. And that was the kind of thread that linked it all together. But there was no artifice. It was just a straightforward music doc using archival footage. It was great.
Yeah. Really good, really good. I could recommend that. That's on Netflix if you have a Netflix account. Check it out if you haven't already. It's the kind of thing you'd be like, you'd watch that with the family now and everyone would have a lovely time.
Lovely Stevens's Day watch, I'd
Yeah,
say.
exactly.
Stevens's Day
Yeah.
lunch. Yeah.
My mom is a big
Perfect.
George Michael fan, as I mentioned before, so that's
Oh.
kind of the one you're like, yeah, you have to watch that. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all moms are George Michael fans, aren't they? Of
Yes,
any
let's just
age.
tar them all with the same
You
brush.
know, I think
sure.
moms love
It's a good
him.
brush to tar
In
them
the
with.
same way that dads love Tina Turner, moms love George Michael. Do you know what I mean? Makes sense to me.
I'm sure there's a
Um,
modern equivalent of that. We'll have to figure that one
yeah.
out.
Oh, well, you're a dad now, so Rosalia will be the
yeah.
new one.
No, it's like
Dads
yeah.
love Rosalia.
I just love Dua Lipa. You know, I just
I
love
just
Dua Lipa.
love her. She's
Music for
great.
dads,
She's
self-esteem,
great.
music for dads.
Yeah,
Sick music
exactly.
dads.
Yeah. Have you got a podcast of the year now?
I didn't note one.
Okay, that's okay. Well, I have one.
Okay.
I reckon I've mentioned it before, but they started this year. It's If Books Could Kill, with Michael Hobbs and Peter Shamshiri. It is a American. They're two American. One former lawyer, one former Wall Street journalist. Michael Hobbs is. He'll be well known to people who are into podcasts, but he hosts Maintenance Phase, and he also used to host You're Wrong About, and it's a podcast about nonfiction. They call them like airport books, things like Atomic Habits, The Game. What else? Oh God, I've listened to them so many times that I'm now blanking. Oh, just like books about so it's called If Books Could Kill, and it's about like the most dangerous ideas in American kind of popular culture. And so I'm on their Patreon and everything, and they recently, I think today or yesterday, they released their Patreon episode of like the worst takes of 2023, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
But it's a fantastic, very, very funny podcast. Like they're both very funny, but they're both incredibly intelligent and well versed in how to spot bullshit when it is, wrapped up in a kind of a scientific lens. If there's anyone who is in academia, like they're kind of methodology nerds, which I quite like. They're really, really, really good at debunking a lot of stuff that people take for granted. Freakonomics was another one they did. That was like the first book that they did was Freakonomics, so they really came out strong. Oh, there's loads of them. There's loads of episodes now, and a really easy listen, but you learn a lot through listening to it.
Great.
About
I'll add that to my
loads of different things.
So
Do.
I haven't done any real
You'll love it.
listening to podcasts other than my established music and football ones. Really, very
Yeah.
little listen to this year.
Yeah, I'm
Otherwise,
in the market for a lot more podcasts. So if anybody has any recommendations, do let me know.
God, I used to listen to loads. I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I have my
Or do
podcast.
it
The
on
thing is, now I know I host two podcasts, neither of which do this, but I need more podcasts to be released on Saturdays and Sundays. I've nothing for a Saturday walk or a Sunday walk. And I know people like podcasters, we avoid Saturdays and Sundays because people aren't commuting and kind of listenership is down a bit. But I actually think there's space in my life for a Sunday morning release from a podcast. So if anyone wants to do that,
Well, it could just be released
get
on
on it.
Thursday. You could listen to it on Sunday. Why not?
No, but I can't do that. I have to listen to it the day it's released. Like I can't do that.
Okay. Interesting.
That's not how my brain doesn't work like that. I need immediate satisfaction now.
Satisfaction
so-
guaranteed. Okay, cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, great. Well,
So
I've nothing
I
to really
basically
add
just
there.
have film, book, and TV left. So if you want to wrap
Yeah.
up any other ones you have,
Do you
and then
want
we
to
can
start
move on to the
with
big three?
film?
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with film.
Good year for films, I think.
I was
I
looking
think
back on this.
very
I'm
good year.
sure I've forgotten loads
Mm.
because even with my letterbox, I'm like, I feel like I saw a lot more films this year that I really loved than the ones I looked at here. The ones that stood out to me this year, I believe Tar was the start of this year, so that's the first one.
Yes.
I went to see Tar in the cinema in January, I think. So that was, still stands up as one of the best. And then I mentioned this before, Pearl, which is the second of the trilogy of that film.
Yeah.
The kind of horror films about, what's her name? Mia Goth stars in it. That one was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's weird.
Was
It's a
Pearl this
backstory.
year?
I think so.
Was it? Yeah.
There's a third one
That's
to come
a great film.
in the trilogy, obviously. So yeah, that's another one. A funny film I saw this year, a really sweet film I saw this year, Theater Camp. Have you seen that yet?
No,
really
I
lovely
haven't.
about a theater camp. Very, very nice. And then Reality with Sydney Sweeney, a film about which takes the FBI turn up to this woman's house, and what you hear is word for word verbatim the transcript of the chat that they have with this woman who's been accused of something, and it gets revealed shortly after.
Oh,
but
I saw a clip of
it is
it
good.
on
It's really, really good.
TikTok.
And what
Yeah.
is weird about it is that, like, you're like, wow, real people don't talk like this, and you're like, no, this is actually what happened. Like,
Yeah,
they do
yeah.
talk like this. That's why it's like, oh, there's no way that people would talk like this. And you're like,
The clip I saw was when all the cops were telling her to get her cat out from under the bed,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
like
There's a lot of
it
that.
like it amped up like really quickly, and I was like, this dialogue is so weird. And I went into the comments on TikTok, and people were saying like, this is word for word transcription of a real life event. And that, yeah, it sounds very interesting.
yeah, yeah, really good, really good, and it's short as well.
So, but do you
which
have
is,
a film of the year, like best film?
I think my
that you
film of
saw?
the year is Speak No Evil, which I
Mhm.
saw this year. It's a film about. It was from last year. It's about a Danish family who go visit a Dutch family that they met on holidays, and the little kind of microaggressions that happen as they're visiting, and how
Mhm.
people shut down their instincts, and how people shut down, out of in terms of prioritize politeness over their own perhaps safety or instinct. I thought it was really good. It's a horror film, but it's just really well done. I had a big love for that one this year. Very scary as well.
Yeah.
So that one was probably the biggest one. Yeah, I'd say. What else did I see this year? Like The Menu was possibly this year. I'm not sure if it was.
I still haven't seen The Menu.
No One Will Save You. Enjoyed that. I watched that Paul Mescal one recently, Foe, which was not good. I wouldn't really be going for
Wouldn't
that
recommend it.
one. Anyway, that's Saoirse Ronan and Paul Mescal. You're like, oh, cool, this would be good.
Oh, that's a shame.
The film that everyone loves, Past Lives, I wasn't mad on. Just
I haven't
quiet.
seen that yet. I'm going to see it after
Yeah,
Christmas in the
yeah.
in-betweeny Twixtmas.
I was kind of, it wasn't really for me, unfortunately. But
Okay.
yeah, I think Speak No Evil is the one for me this year. And Tar. Tar's amazing. All timer.
My sort of like sleeper film of the year was Enys Men, I think it's pronounced, Enysmen, about a woman on an uninhabited island off the Cornish coast. I am reading this from IMDb to remind myself. Mark Jenkins film, excellent soundtrack, excellent film. I also saw, I went to a lot of they're not new films, but I went to a lot of the Wong Kar-wai festival that was on earlier this year in the IFI, which was excellent. Best film I saw this year was Jean Dielman, which was, I think I saw it in January, but it's from the 1960s. But in terms of films of the year, I'm going with Oppenheimer. It pipped Barbie, but I just think like the experience of seeing it in IMAX, in like a packed out IMAX theater. I don't really go to IMAX. I don't buy into it, but for Chris Nolan films, I'll make the exception. And it was just one of the best like cinema experiences I've ever had in terms of like the sound and the giant screen. And yeah, it was absolutely incredible. So yeah, I think my film of the year is Oppenheimer.
Great, I haven't seen
But
that
I
yet.
also watched Bottoms, which is a lot of fun as well. I watched that when I was sick. But yeah, Oppenheimer, film of the year, I think.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, I have something that fits into that. Actually, I will say shout out to the Billie Eilish song in the Barbie film. I think that was the one that probably stands up.
That should win
I feel
the
like
Oscar,
we
I
all
think.
lived in a Barbie fever dream for like a brief period there, and then we all woke up and was like, yeah, it was grand.
I never woke up.
You never.
I'm
you're
still in Barbie world.
Very good. Books.
Yeah. I have Penance by Eliza Clark. She wrote that, right? Did you read it? I think
No,
I
it's on my
recommended it
list
to
though.
you.
I bought a an ebook reader recently, so I
Yeah.
have a load of stuff to get through. And I'm currently reading Fintan O'Toole's book, We Don't Know Ourselves, which I'm really enjoying. A history of Ireland through kind of a personal lens. I'm really enjoying that. That's been kind of my one at the moment for the last couple of months because it's so big.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Penance was definitely my reading experience of the year, best book of the year for me. It was very, very divisive. A lot of people absolutely hated it. I absolutely loved it. Maybe a bit of a tricky book to read at the moment if you're affected by news stories, like kind of recent news stories, as it is about the murder of a girl by her friends. So just bear that in mind when people are going into it. But it is a sort of a an askance look at the true crime genre in terms of podcasts, documentaries, books, the whole lot. You got a very unreliable narrator. You've got a really, really good understanding of like how Tumblr worked in the 2000s and the kinds of fandoms on there that aren't as palatable as just, Supernatural and Doctor Who and Sherlock. People, young girls who idolize serial killers, just a real good understanding of like how teenagers talk to each other, the darkness of teenage girlhood when it is kind of pushed to its most extreme. It's an excellent, excellent, excellent book. I thought it was an absolute triumph. I then went and tried to read her, I believe it was her debut novel, Boy Parts, and it wasn't that I didn't like it. I just sort of I didn't finish it, but I think Penance was an absolute triumph. But like, if you look on Goodreads, it got a pretty good reception, but the people who hated it really, really, really hated it. Like, thought it was irresponsible, all of this kind of stuff. Someone here says the true crime was the book's length, which is a funny review of it, but it is a long book. But I read it in like a day and a half. I absolutely loved it. I think I've got a review of it on the Business Post website if anybody wants to read it and if they have a subscription to that. But that was, hands down, my book of the year was Penance.
Great. Lovely. I didn't read an awful lot this year. Certainly, I can't remember a lot that I really enjoyed. An easy read that, if you haven't read it over Christmas, might be one to delve into, is the Nisha Dolan Happy Couple. A very easy read if you're curled up by a fire over the festive period.
Yeah, I liked Happy Couple.
Appreciate. I think you might appreciate that one. And that's really it for me. And definitely others I've read, but I can't remember.
Do you have
them.
a best television?
Yes, I have. So I have two things related to TV. I mean, let's just say my favorite thing, other than Succession, which ended this year, and The Last of Us, which obviously was like the big event TV of the year, probably. It's the Bear season 2. Just really loved how it took the first season and made it a much bigger story and more brought in the characters and stuff like into new ways, and particularly the story of Richie and all that stuff, and how he becomes this
love of my life.
Yeah, how he becomes this lovely engaged man. So one of my awards this year is best use of a song in a show, and it is
absolutely.
Taylor Swift Love Story. And I know that sounds, if you haven't seen the show, you're like, it's Taylor Swift, whatever. If you've seen the show, you're like, he talks about how he wants to bring his kid to a Taylor Swift concert, and he's kind of dejected and he's down on his luck and he's feeling like shit, and he gets sent off from the restaurant that he's supposed to be working in to be trained up in this high-end restaurant by his brother.
Don't hate Taylor Swift. I just needed a break.
Yeah. But I'm just saying others, right?
Kid.
So basically, this is what happens. I play a bit of the audio here, actually.
Oh, my heart.
I literally, I shed a tear when this was on because it was such a great payoff.
I shed a tear and fist bump. I was like, I'm gonna cry watching this.
What year did the restaurant open?
2012.
Yes, and what year do we get our third star?
2012. Trick question. Nice try.
Correct. And lastly, what were tonight's specials?
We don't have specials. We do, however, have supplements, including tonight's caviar pairing. Off your ass!
Oh, that's right. Woo!
It was just that a really lovely payoff in the show where that song is used as an example of a man reanimated, re-engaged, in love with life when he's suddenly
sorting his shit out.
He's doing it for his kids and he's doing it for himself, and he's really happy.
Finding his worth.
It's so rare. It's really hard to do happy well, you know what I mean?
So
it's like we were talking about this earlier, myself and my partner Katie, we were talking about Christmas songs. The best Christmas songs have a tinge of sadness in them. Like Last Christmas is a sad song because it has to have something in it, to a deeper emotional connection, and something more complex than just that. it's really
Yeah.
hard to do this well, and to bring in a needle drop like that where you're like, no, this really fucking works. It works because it's in the script. It's worked because it's in
Yeah.
the story. His backdrop and it's the payoff is brilliant because he's so he earns it so well. So that is
I
my
agree.
needle drop of the year. Best use of a
My
song.
needle drop of the year in television, I very, very, very nearly chose The Bear. I nearly chose that one. It only lost points because it does something that I don't like, which is it is diegetic music that changes the song. So we
Oh
miss it.
yeah.
Like it skips into the Marry Me Juliet bit in order to fit in with the editing, blah, blah, blah. Fine. It's something that I notice and that bothers me. So I've chosen for my needle drop of the year, which is non-diegetic, so they get away with more, was Linda Ronstadt's Long, Long Time in The Last of Us, which
Oh right. Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
just a
Lovely.
really, I mean, I listened to that song like nonstop. The Last of Us was like one of my favorite television events of the year. Like my three are, I mean, I can separate them into their own awards
Yeah.
if you like. I mean, best stick in the landing was Succession 100%. I think that was like the most fun part of my year was watching Succession and waiting the week and talking to everyone about it and just really trying to dig into it. And I think they stuck the landing so brilliantly. Best, like, not letting us down in the second season, and best improvement from the first season was The Bear, and then best new show was The Last of Us. But the three of them are all my best TV of the year. That isn't, I have TV events of the year. I mean, best
Yeah.
reality TV moment of the year was Olivia walking in on Henry and Jordan kissing in Big Brother. For those who know, they know. Best TV moment of the year. But yeah, I've got the same three in terms of
Yeah.
best telly.
I will shout out my most recent discovery in the last couple of weeks is the ones from I've seen on lists, which is Reservation Dogs, which I hadn't watched before, and I've started watching that. I really enjoy it. It's about a load of kids in Oakland who want to move to California because they're all these of Native American descent, and it's a really sweet show and really well written, and I'm really enjoying that at the moment. It's always nice to have a new show like that. And then special shout out to the best worst show of the year, The Idol. Starring The Weeknd and Lily Rose.
I never went near it.
You should watch it. It's so much fun and how bad it is. You're just like, what the fuck is going on here? And your boy
Yeah.
Troye Sivan is in it, so like you have to watch it now.
Oh, my boy.
and-
Yeah, just one shout out for a recent thing I watched is on the BBC iPlayer, a comedy called Such Brave Girls. I don't know if there's very much coverage of it. It got a very good review in The Guardian, but short comedy series, very, very, very funny. Such Brave Girls. So I'd recommend that. Something easy to watch over Christmas, but very funny. It's so hard to do sort of like shocking humor these days, but there was something that happened in this show that actually genuinely shocked me and made me think like, oh my God, I can't believe they put that on television. So yeah, it's very, very good.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the awards I have for this year, for 2023.
Me too.
We'll close it out there. We hope you have a lovely break, festive break.
Yes.
And for that's it from us for a while now. We are going to
Yeah.
take a break in January and come back maybe the end of January or so. Whenever things feel right,
If
you will
music
see
comes
us.
out in January, we'll do a best of January. If it doesn't, we'll see you in February.
Yeah, I mean, January last year was so quiet, and I'm really looking forward to a bit more of a quiet time. So, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone, for listening to us this year and coming to our little live events in the Big Romance and
Oh, yeah.
going to
Well,
see
that's it.
Niall DJ and going to Lumo and engaging with me when I'm writing and just being lovely and everyone in the Discord. And
Yeah.
we really appreciate the little community that we have.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
if we're
great.
going to get a chance to do an episode on it, so we'll mention it now. But our next listen closely is on the 31st of January, Wednesday the 31st of January, and it is the album we will be talking about and playing is MF Doom and Madlib's Mad Villain. So looking forward to that. An artist MF Doom we've discussed a lot on this podcast before, and so I think it'd be nice to just have an hour listen on the lovely Toby Hatcher speakers in the Big Romance. We'll put that on sale in January after Christmas sometime. So look out for that. But that's it from us. I think have a great Christmas and a happy New Year, and If you're looking for something to do on New Year's Eve, I'm DJing in the Circular as well as New Year's Festival as well. New Year's Festival first before midnight, and then Circular just around midnight till close. So that'll be fun. With Graham Dolan and Alex Donald, and we had Lumo Christmas party last week. It was stuffed. I couldn't even stay till the end because I have a baby at home. So that was weird. But great. Anyway, we had a great time. And yeah, that's it. And I want to thank you, Andrea, for being so sound and always bringing your insightful thoughts and recommendations. And yeah, thanks for being a great co-host.
And you, Niall. Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being a friend. Okay. Sure.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Look after yourselves and each other.
Thanks, Georgia, for editing the podcast.
Thanks, Georgia, MVP of the year.
Really helping me out the last while. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Amazing.
Thanks so much. All right.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. Patreon.com/Nialler9 if you want to access to Discord and meet some people that you actually will find out. I think people that listen to music regularly and are music fans are well-adjusted people. They're well-adjusted.
Look,
and
I'm going to say it.
We
can vouch for them. They're fucking sound. Like, they're nice people.
Yeah, lovely
Get
people.
in.
It was nice to see them. There's a lot of people at Lumo last week as well, so that was nice to see them all. Yeah, that's it. That's it from us this week and for this year. We were back in January or late January. We'll let you know. Okay. Thanks a million for listening to the Nialler9 podcast. Bye.